Good everyone.
Good morning.
Our council president would not be with us on today. We're going to go ahead and start our pre-meeting. We are now in the capable hands of our assistant city clerk, Ms. Mary Ann.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council for Tuesday, June 30th. First item of business is approval of minutes of June the 23rd.
No issues.
Okay. Appeals, we have a request for a waiver of the noise ordinance on July the 4th on Charles Street from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m. Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to fix the cost for the demolition or securing of the structures at 605 Patton Avenue, 1759 Waterford Street, 1462 Fairfield Street, 2905 Sherwood Drive South, 2918 Berkeley Avenue, 507 Yucker Street, 2058 Kentwood Lane, 3061 Pleasant Valley Road, and 406 Booker Street. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Antonio Moore wants to speak about the situation between he and the Mobile Police Department on June the 30th regarding his noise ordinance waiver.
Ms. Merchant, I'd like to ask a question to the administration and I guess to our public safety director. I see that he had listed several things up under here. Or will you be able to prepare to answer these questions that he had submitted?
Councilman, I'm not sure what all. I have talked to Antonio Moore. He has filed a complaint with Internal Affairs, so some of that is actually under investigation, so I may not have all of the answers for you, but I'm certainly willing to listen to what he's got to say today. But I have been in contact with Antonio Moore.
Do you know right off, and I guess it might be towards the attorneys, is there, or our clerk, is there any type of ordinance that we have for not writing on the sidewalk or city properties or anything like that? Do you know of?
Yes.
There is
Yes.
one. And could you be prepared to get that at 10:30, if possible, to us and the council?
Well, I'd be glad to talk about it or at least answer the questions. That's specific to this one. But I'd be glad to tell you all if you have questions about it at 10:30 or before. I'd be glad to answer those questions.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other comments from the council?
Kimberly McKeon.
Hold
I'm
on.
sorry.
Just a second. When Mr. Moore, when they went down for their peaceful demonstration, they arrested a young man, last name Ford, for using chalk to write on the base of the statue of Admiral Sims. He was arrested. He was carried before the magistrate. The magistrate found no probable cause, and he was set free.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President,
Mr.
as I also recall last week, and Mrs. Rich may want to chime in, Mrs. Rich had asked about whether a permit was needed to be on the median itself, because we granted a noise waiver. I mean, that's all we did. And so the question was raised, did they need a permit to be on the median itself? He got one? Okay, so he was good with both of those. It was just the writing with the chalk was the reason for the arrest in the first place, apparently.
He had both permits and permission to organize.
Okay.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes, versus.
when they arrived, they were threatened to be arrested. They didn't want to honor the noise ordinance that the City Council had given. On the agenda today, it's going to be ordinance 39021, and it's going to address that situation. It said we're going to exempt demonstrations and rallies. I have a proposed ordinance before the council, ordinance 39051, that the entire ordinance was intended for boomboxes, but the very first portion said if you have amplified noise that can be heard 25 feet, that's a whisper, then you're in violation. We're going to, it's in the original ordinance, there's exempted a number of conditions, and we're going to, I'm planning to add a peaceful protest and demonstrations.
Can't hear you, Ms. Rich. Turn your mic on.
I'm sorry. I just need some background on this. You're saying that if you have this amendment, they wouldn't have to come down to get a noise waiver?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if it's a peaceful protest.
But they still would have to get the permission to be on this?
Oh, yes,
Like
yes.
through the
It has nothing
parks?
to do with that.
Or the police if it's on a
That's
median or
right.
street or?
It has nothing to do with none of that. Right, that's exactly right.
Mr. Vice President,
Ms. Gregory.
while we're talking about that, I don't think we're quite there yet, but if there's to be an exemption if it's a peaceful protest, why then would we not allow for peaceful preaching, peaceful anything else, that they don't have to get waivers either, because they're doing amplified sound of some
Yeah.
nature?
Freedom to protest is in the Constitution.
Well, they can protest, but do they have to have amplified sound? I think that's the issue, is amplified sound.
Agree.
I don't know of no protest that they don't have some sort of amplified sound or protest.
Well, I just think if we're going to exempt one group from having to get a noise waiver because they have amplified sound, we need to exempt them all.
Well, if you would like to exempt them all, you can add to what we have on the ordinance. I don't have nothing against it, Gina. All you
No,
have to do-
what I'm getting at is that if we need to expedite a waiver like we did last week,
Yes, we did.
we can do it. And we've done it for other groups as well that don't understand the 2-week rule, or the event comes up, or something happens, we can expedite it if they need it. But just a blanket exemption because you're doing a protest as opposed to preaching, I just don't think it's fair to everybody.
The ordinance already has exemptions, and they didn't exempt preaching. It already has exemptions.
But this is a first read, correct? So we're going to lay it over anyway for discussion?
Yeah, that's correct, because I had several, statements and comments about that too, because I was wondering how do you define peaceful protest? I mean,
Yeah.
Have a
You know,
peaceful.
the-
It might start out peaceful and then go
Legal.
another direction. You don't know, but it's the sound thing. It's the amplified sound. That's why we give waivers.
but colleagues, we haven't reached to that agenda item yet. We're going to get down to that, but right now, we're still on the pensions and communications, okay? Anything else about Mr. Moore? Ms. Merchant?
Okay. Kimberly McKean wants to speak about the Human Relations Commission.
I think she also requests that she can also, wanted like a copy of the board, of the members, if we can have that provided for her when she gets here. We can just pass it to her.
I
Thank
sure
you.
will. Brendan Cam Jackson wants to speak about Mobile moving forward with a generation of young adults.
Let me, it's possible that Mr. Mayor, Venetra can be here to speak on behalf of the administration on, I guess I know that's the next person. Mr. Jackson was coming down to talk about the jobs and youths and et cetera. If possible, that she can be down here to speak on some of this. Mr. Cam Jackson, can you read that, Ms. Merchant?
It's in our packet.
Cam Jackson, he wants to speak about Mobile moving forward with a generation of young adults. Why are young, talented people who grew up in Mobile fleeing the city to find success? Why are there no opportunities for young, highly educated, and uniquely skilled people who are from Mobile?
And why I was just asking, because I know the administration has been working hard, and just if Anisha can be down here and tell exactly what the administration has been doing for the last several years, and everything goes someone from your administration. I know this has been touched on several times. Ms. Merchant.
Gina Irby, she has issues with the Mobile Housing Board. She wants you to advocate on her behalf. She's contacted them several times, and they haven't responded.
Would you be able to talk to Director Barber about that situation? We have a tenant in the Housing Board stated that she reported several times of marijuana smell, and she wanted the city council to advocate. Could you just talk to her when she get down here? Maybe have the police to look into it and everything. Thank you.
Justice Washington wants to speak about the Citizens Board for Police, introducing the structure as well as talking about the progress of the Personnel Board. And Reggie Hill wants to speak about Africa Town projects, curfew, budget suggestions, a letter he received from the Mobile City Council, public safety concerns, and any agenda items of unique relevance. CIP resolutions held
Mr.
over.
President,
Yes, Mr. Days.
I suspect we are going to have, I don't know, but I suspect we could have a large number of people down here today to speak about the mask ordinance. And it's too early, I guess, to set some parameters around that, but we may want to consider reducing the 5-minute limit to 3 minutes or something like that. I think it's,
I can't hardly hear you, Joe.
pardon me?
I can't hardly hear you back here.
Just speak a little bit closer.
I was just saying, I suspect we're going to have a lot of people down here today that want to speak about the mask ordinance. And I was just suggesting to the chair that we might, at some point, after we've seen how many people want to speak about it, reduce the time limit from 5 to 3 minutes or something. Otherwise, we could be down here all day.
If the will of the majority of the council is in favor, I'm in favor also.
I don't have a problem with giving people the 5 minutes if we make a statement, perhaps, Vice Chair, that people not repeat what we've heard, perhaps.
That won't get us anywhere, Mr. Vice. We'll try that. That
Well,
dog won't hunt.
then I would object to anybody not giving their 5 minutes. It's a big community process we're going through. But
Yeah, only issue
Go
with
with
that
the
is
will.
that I know, I'm not too sure how well the microphone is out there in the atrium, and they able to hear every person that's speaking, at the times to say, hey, don't repeat the same thing that, Sarah or Joe said 15 minutes ago. So that's the only issue that I have with that, if.
I understand.
And they really just hear out there in the atrium clearly of where everything is said is out of here.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Richardson?
if we see that it's a large group of people and we believe 5 minutes is going to be in excess, what we could do is let 5 on the pro side, see how many people for the mask, how many people against the mask, and let each one of them pick 5 people to represent them. Or we can cut them down to 2 or 3 minutes.
We can pretty much probably, right before the meeting, we will discuss that. We'll see where we can go from observe at that time, see how many people that's out there. Ms. Merchant?
CIP resolutions held over. 21448, authorized contract with C. Thornton for the 2020 CIP bridge maintenance and repairs in Districts 1 through 7. 21449, authorized contract with Geotechnical Engineering Testing to perform testing services for citywide resurfacing in Districts 1 through 7. 21450, authorized contract with Mobile Asphalt for the 2020 CIP citywide resurfacing in Districts 1 through 7. Resolutions held over. 01451, authorized baseline services agreement with Downtown Mobile District Management Corporation. 01452, authorized agreement with AlDOT for the installation of LED streetlights along state routes within the city limits. 08453, approve item-based bid award from Emergency Equipment Professionals for Red Rack gear storage components for the fire department. 08454, approve item-based bid award for decorative poles, fixtures, and globes from Southern Lighting and Traffic Systems. 08455, approve purchase order to SunSouth for 4 mowers. 08456, approved purchase order to AutoNation Ford Mobile for 2 Ford pickup trucks. 08457, approved purchase order to Sampson Equipment Company for Vector Sewer Cleaner Truck. 08458, approved purchase order to Toomey Equipment Company for a tractor backhoe front-end loader. 08459, approved purchase order to SunSouth for 8 zero-turn mowers. 08460, approved purchase order to Polaris Sales for utility vehicle. 08461, approved purchase order to Cronus Incorporated for annual renewal of workforce, telestaff, and associated HR management software. 09462, transfer the sum of $49,288.29 from capital project C0129 to capital account C0509 to enclose the police department motorcycle parking pad. 23463, accept deeds for the acquisition of right-of-way for the McGregor Avenue widening project from Dolphin Street to Airport Boulevard. Ordinances being introduced. 14018, ordinance to amend chapter 14-10 of the city code to provide for socially and economically disadvantaged business contractor and individual participation.
Yeah, 1 minute. I think Mr. Roberts is here this morning. Can you come down and speak to us about this, please? Yes, yes, sir. Thank you.
So this is an update to the chapter 1410, which is
We can't hear. What?
Yeah, can we give him a microphone?
Is it one under the desk? Is it a microphone under it? Okay.
He got one.
He's got it.
We got it.
There we go.
That's it.
You guys hear me?
He got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, so it's update to chapter 1410 of the city code to add to the participation of socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. The existing code has a lot of ambiguity in it, so this reduces that. This also clarifies the use of permanent staff versus a consultant. The existing code says consultant. Arsenics here is permanent staff. There's also an additional position we're looking at hiring. There'd be a small business coordinator, which would be set up for these companies to walk through, once things are back to normal, walk through and make sure they can get a business license, walk through, make sure they can get their permit, that kind of stuff. So they'll know the lingo, they understand the process, and they'll be able to help the small business get through the process. Reduces the chances of misunderstanding which types of groups qualify. That's where a lot of the ambiguity is right now. So that's clarified in the new update. It's written on models, written based on models from other cities, including New Orleans. We had the attorney that worked with them over there help us with this. We're using existing federal government and court guidance for how to give preferences. There's a lot of issues. If anybody has questions about legal participation on that, it's a side project, but a lot of the ambiguity feeds into the legal aspects of that. So we're going to try to avoid that. Groups that would qualify under the new ordinance, basically the same ones, plus maybe a small enhancement there. It's based on a study, so we have to have a study that verifies groups are actually disadvantaged and qualify. So the study groups are going to identify minority groups. They're going to identify women-owned businesses. That's almost guaranteed. It's just a verification of the process through the study. The SBA standard, which is included, that's for small disadvantaged businesses. That includes multiple minority groups. They're presumed to be under federal guidance as long as they have a net worth below $750,000. The DOT standard has the same definition for groups, but it has a slightly higher. It's 1.37 million net worth, and that both of those excludes the equity in their business and the primary residence. So it's got actual, tangible, defined requirements for qualifying. And then those that qualify at Section 3 under HUD's regulations. Section 3 is any public housing resident whether they work for the company or they own the company. And then any low to moderate income individual lives in the county. It's the technical qualifier. Most of the ones we deal with live in the city limits. The business section of Section 3 is that it has to be 51% or more owned by a Section 3 individual or family or a group of individuals, or 25% of the subcontract work that they do goes to Section 3 firms, or 30% of that company's workforce is a Section 3 person. So you're talking about the coordination of hiring low to moderate income people that live in the area in Section 3. That's the bulk of the changes. It just kind of codifies that.
Council, does any question for Mr. Roberts? If not, Ms. Kidd, did you want to say anything?
Jamie has explained pretty much everything. We just wanted to make sure that we were better able to clarify what a small disadvantaged business was, also the requirements to be a small disadvantaged business and what categories fit into that realm. So that's basically what we did in this ordinance and the changes that we made. And we also added the Section 3, as Jamie talked about, for HUD funds as well. So all three are going to work together, but at the same time, it will clarify how they work and what projects they'll be able to be utilized on.
Mr. Vice President,
Ms. Gregory?
will this also help resolve the issue we had, I don't know if it was last week or with the accreditation?
Yes.
Right, okay,
Absolutely.
or certification?
Yep.
Okay, good.
And this will work with the website that we just had designed that actually will walk you through the process of being certified under DOT or Section 3 as an individual or business. We have the Section 3 part is self-certification. We update it annually. We go, we'll double check, make sure if they're doing contract with the city. And the DOT one is a 3-year certification.
They have to have, it's actually a lifetime certification once they receive it, but it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months in order for them to go through the full process and become certified. But before that, there are a number of things that they have to have and acquire before they can apply. So it explains all of that as well.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Thank you all so much. Ms. Merchant?
39019, ordinance requiring wearing face coverings in public.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to say anything about this before I ask the council? Council, any comments?
Mr. President,
Mr. Daves?
I'd just like to say that I understand that the chief medical officers of the 4 hospitals in town and Dr. Eichold would like to speak to us this morning concerning this ordinance, and I'd like to ask that they be permitted to go first.
10:30 meeting or?
At the 10:30 meeting.
That's fine with me. Any other council members?
The Medical Society president, which is also part of the equation, will be here, so if he could be part of that list
That'll be fine.
for pro.
Ms. Gregory?
So if we let the medical professionals go first, does that also mean we'll let everybody who is here to speak about the mask go ahead and do that as well?
I thought we would just put them at the top of the presentations and petitions, of petitions and other
Oh, okay,
communications.
just before the other speakers.
Just- Yeah. right.
Oh, okay,
Proponents of it.
yeah.
Any other council members? Not Ms. Merchant?
39020, ordinance to amend the city's general noise ordinance to add peaceful protests, demonstrations, and rallies as an exception.
Now, Mr. Richardson?
Yes. This ordinance 39015 says, it shall be unlawful for any person to play, use, or operate any radio, tape player, cassette, compact disc player, or other machine or device for producing sound in any motor vehicle on the street or highway in such a manner that the sound generated is plainly audible at a distance of 25 feet from the or more from the motor vehicle. It was sponsored by Councilman Fred Richardson. That's what the ordinance was in. It was boom boxes. It was aiming at boom boxes. All of the calls, people said we can't sleep at night. People coming by their house with all that loud noise. But there's another section that said it shall be unlawful for any person to play, use, or operate, or permit to be played, use, or operate any radio, tape player, cassette player, compact disc player, or other machines or devices for producing sounds in on any public property, including any public street, road, building, sidewalks, park, in any such manner that the sound generated is plainly audible at a distance of 25 feet or more from the source. This is what the ordinance before us is aiming at. That you can, if you are at any kind of meeting on public property, you can't generate a sound more than 20 that can be heard more than 25 feet. But in section B, it's the exceptions. Any athletic event, cultural event, concert authorized by the city, any noise or sound produced by radio sounds or other equipment attached to or being operated by any police, fire rescue, or any other emergency vehicle or personnel. So they had a list of exceptions. And the ordinance before us is saying if it's a peaceful demonstration, that we would exempt that along with these other exemptions because really this ordinance was really aimed at boomboxes. But the section was thrown into that if you're making a noise generally on public property that can be heard for 25 feet, I can whisper over that. How you doing, CJ? That'd be illegal if it was on a speaker. If I've used any kind of device. So it's unreasonable, and we have seen on more than one occasion where these protesters went down to the same spot, 25 or 30 of them, and the police showed up and said, we can hear you over 25 feet, and they threatened to arrest them. And same thing happened last week. They went down, threatened to arrest them. All I'm saying is that we need to exempt this. Well, we don't need to be trying to pit our police against our citizens over a peaceful protest. Yesterday and Sunday, I was on. What was it? Yeah, Sunday. I was on my way to somewhere when I got to Broad and Springfield Avenue. Over at the statue where you have Langan and LaFleur,
Unity Park.
it was about 30 people out there. You had about 15 police officers out there too. Leave the people alone. The police officers ought to be somewhere on the bank over there. All the cars that surrounded that section with police cars, with that handful of people over there with a peaceful protest. Well, if one of them had picked the little megaphone, so I want everybody to hold it, I can hear you for 25 feet, then they go over there. We need to leave those. If what they are doing is nothing illegal, we need to leave them alone. That's what this is aimed at.
Ms. Rich?
Yeah. That's technically a park, so they would need to get with Parks and Recreation. It's called Unity Park. It's not a big park, but that's what it's called, at least the landscape is. The other thing is, Ms. Richardson, would you look at an hour type of event? I mean, as far as how long it would go on, what time of day they would not need that waiver? Because I think that has a big play and might get your idea passed. But I understand what you're saying, but I think since it's something organized and it's on city property, they're going to have to get the proper permits to do that, because that's for safety and a million reasons why. But if we don't have them come to us for a noise waiver, then there's a lot of instructions that either the clerk's office, could pass to them on what's required. And again, if you look at maybe hours for that type of peaceful protesting, but anything that's loud and it, goes, disrupts other people, then, I think they need the waiver. I really do, because as Councilwoman Gregory was saying, we give them for birthday parties, that's peaceful. We give them for, preaching, peaceful. I mean, it's already a peaceful organization that's happening. So we're not saying that you can't have something that is an organization that comes out to represent through freedom of speech or activity. It's just, what do you do about the noise that's created? That's our only interest. So,
Mr. Vice President, this ordinance has nothing to do with permits. Whatever permit you would need to use city property is still in place. This has absolutely nothing to do with permitting. You still have to get the same permit. This has to do with noise during a peaceful protest. So if I'm going to have a cultural event, I'm going to have some people to dance in the park. I can have my microphone up, and I dance number 2, and I can turn it up while they're dancing, and that the dance is no longer, they are exempted.
no, they have.
Yeah, it's already in here, exceptions. Any athletic event, cultural event is exempted. It is ordinance. It's already exempted. So we don't want to exempt peaceful protest now. They can turn it up as loud as they want to if it's a cultural event, if it's an athletic event, if it's a concert authorized by the city. You can turn it up as high as you want to turn it up. Well, these people are not going to have no drums, no musical instruments. These are people talking. And we feel them talking, but these other people can have other instruments making noise. And we're going to say that's okay for them, but let's not let them have a peaceful protest and be able to speak to the group that they're talking to. I think we need to exempt this, and I'm going to issue my plea to the council members to all we're doing is having the police to come down there every time they march to say, I can hear you, and somebody going to jail and go take your equipment because I can hear you. Because 25 feet is from me to Council Vice President. That's 25 feet. If I can hear you beyond that, then I can take your equipment and take you to jail. I don't think we need to even have that on the books.
Any other council members? Yeah, the only thing with that, even with the culture in the park, is it's and not saying that the rallies are hosted by people that not good citizens, but if the city put on an event, we know that it will be indecent and in order.
What's the name of it?
I'm just saying if the city put on an event, not saying that other rallies that's out there, they don't do things in decent and order, but we know if the city does things in decent and order, that it will be a event that is very respectful to the neighborhood. But, and again, you could have 9% of the people out there that does great things with rallies, but you might have that one that could mess up things, and that's my concern with that. But we have another week to look at this and everything.
Mr. Vice President,
Ms. Gregory.
one thing we might consider in this is extending the distance instead of 25 feet, 50 feet, something like that, if that's really one of the big issues. But that would be for everybody who comes before the council on something like that to get this type of waiver, whether it's the wedding or the birthday party or whatever, it happens to be. If that's the big issue, if 25 feet from Mr. Richardson to Mr. Small is not enough, then maybe the 50 feet or something like that would take care of the issue, but they would still have to get a waiver. Just an idea to throw out there.
I don't have nothing against that.
Or if it backs into R1
Yeah,
or
or,
residential.
We already have a residential noise ordinance.
Right.
but it would apply to
Right.
everybody.
Yeah, you can make up to, I think 85 decibels during the day and 60 at night, something similar to that.
Yeah.
We already have that. We can use the same decibels for residential, for the residents. Just don't do that. And instead of going with feet, use the decibels and be done with it. And use the same decibels for residential that we have for residents. We don't want them to make no more noise downtown or anywhere than they are making in the residence. We can use the same decibels and be done with that.
Well, why don't we look at it during the week and see what we can come up with?
That might be the route to go. But then police need to keep,
Yeah.
patrol officers rather, need to keep a decibel reader so
Yeah.
they can snapshot it to show show the party that is not complying. That's a
I
thought.
think they're ready.
We were told that that's how it would be. That goes way back, because this noise
Yeah.
ordinance is a
Well,
whole.
and the decibel readers are all different, and I think there are issues with that as well.
Yeah. But there are apps on cell phones today
Yeah.
that are calibrated. So there's a way to do that, I think, but that'd be something I would consider on writing this, crafting this.
That'd be just as well.
Mr. Days, you want us to say something?
No, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Merchant?
Ordinance 84021, approve issuance of general obligation refunding warrants, Series 2020.
Mr. President,
Yes.
the council has been informed that this proposed refinancing it involves no additional debt. It's a pure refinancing, and we heard today that from Mr. Arledge that bond counsel, Mr. Bolt, had wanted to add 2 paragraphs to the bond ordinance to say that the city is not planning to issue other debt in 2020, and neither is any subordinate city entity. I see that Mr. Bolt is here to answer any questions, and the finance director is here to answer any questions council members may have with respect to this proposed refinancing.
I have a question.
Mr. Bowe, you would like to come down?
I have a question.
Ms. Rich has a question.
Mr. Rich?
It's for Mr. Bolt.
Okay.
Thank you. The question I have is on this, it's great that it involves no new borrowing or no new debt. Are we saving money, and will that go back into our debt service on this?
So the purpose of the refunding is to save money. The refunding is of warrants that were issued in 2010, 2009, and were issued under a program that was then in effect, is no longer in effect. But
Okay.
these are being refunded now using tax-exempt warrants.
Okay,
The purpose of the change that I was requesting, what came at the request of the financial advisors and the underwriters, there's a concept, and I'll try not to get too deep in the weeds here, but there's a concept called bank qualified. Normally, the city is not able to take advantage of that status because you issue debt in amounts higher than $10 million. In order to meet that standard, neither the city nor any of its subordinate entities, that would be the Water Board, that would be the Mobile Airport Authority, that would be all kinds of issuers that Ms. Merchant is going to help me identify, and we're going to make sure they don't have plans to issue debt that would break the limit. But what we've added is another parameter that would allow the mayor to make a determination and designation of these warrants as being bank qualified. The estimate from the FAA yesterday was that could save you as much as $100,000 extra over and above the savings that are already built into the refunding. So that's the purpose of the change. But the resolution of the ordinance is otherwise in essentially the same format as you've used in 2018, 2017 for the other refundings that have been done. Authorizes, sets certain parameters to be determined by you that will be in the ordinance when it's presented to you next week, and then allows the mayor and his administration to specify exactly what the pricing of the warrants will be at the time the warrants are placed. So it gives some flexibility there.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any other council members? Thank you so much for coming down.
Consent resolutions being introduced. 4466 through 4474 are the fixing of the cost for the demolition and securing of structures. 58475 and 58476 are adding Davis Outdoor Services and Restored Foundation to the list of private contractors to abate properties declared public nuisances. 58477 is declared weeds noxious, group Wheeling Group 1605, and 6478 is approve award of special bonus to the June 2020 Firefighter of the Month, Fire Service Captain Charles B. Andrews. CIP resolutions being introduced. 21479, authorized contract with McElhaney Construction Company for street reconstruction for Little Flower Avenue, $472,745.05. 13480 is a change order with Youngblood Barrett Construction and Engineering for Dog River Park improvements, Phase 2, renovations and new restrooms, adding $139,795.09 to the original contract amount. Resolutions being introduced. 01481, authorized agreement with PC Specialists doing business as Technology Integration Group for computer network security architecture and configuration, $50,000. 08482, approved purchase order to Sunbelt Fire for 185 pairs of firefighter boots, $73,815. 21483, authorized contract with Tyndall Construction for Mobile Civic Center Theater plaster repairs, $55,550. 21484, authorized contract with Watermark Design Group for Fire Training Center administrative classroom building design, $54,000. 46485, change the name of Ladd Peoples Stadium to Ladd Peoples Sports and Entertainment Complex. 6486, approve recommendation to sell East I-65 Service Road North property. 6487, request mayor to consider the possibility of providing supplemental bonuses or hazard pay to frontline city employees engaging in direct contract with the public during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ms. Richards, you want to speak on that, or you good?
Yes, I'm a sponsor. We had talked about this, of finding out whether there are resources available that could give this hazard pay to employees that during the height of the pandemic, when people were told to definitely stay home, and we had all but a shutdown almost totally with businesses and offices, office space citywide. And so this is just confirmation that the council would like to see those employees that still came in and performed the exact duty that nothing changed. Maybe they even did more because others around them were not present due to the COVID pandemic alarm that started back in March. So it's really just seeing about getting them the pay of the time and a half. And it, you know, I don't think we can go backwards in time, but there might be a way to craft it by using the was it 1.7 billion that every state got from the CARES Act, to see whether there was a way to turn some of that into remuneration for those employees that the mayor saw as completely essential. I guess that's the word I was looking for. And give those employees their time and a half at that rate. So.
Any other council members? Ms. Merchant?
Call for public hearings. 41488, call for a special meeting of the City Council to discuss matters relating to the Mobile Police Department policies and procedures, scheduled for July 9th at 4:00 p.m. Announcements.
council members?
I just have one question about 46485. I didn't raise it at the time. That's changing the name. And I know we've been very familiar with everything that this board has been doing. And I was wondering if we could move that up to be heard, even though it's a first introduction, unless there's an objection to that, that
Yes.
we could vote on that one.
Since Councilman Manzi is a sponsor of this, and it's also is in his district, I'd rather we wait till he get back to do this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members? Mayor, administration? If not, we'll see you all at 10:30.
What? Yeah. Okay.